Oh, that's real good.
Hello. How is everybody?
Hello, hello.
The gang is on here. We're back.
Yeah.
I know. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Thanksgiving and cars and snowstorms and
Oh my.
I made sure I left like an extra half hour early today. I was like, I'm not even messing around today. I don't care if there's an accident. I'm getting home.
Nice.
Freaking cars.
I know.
Like I haven't even got to like Joe. You got engaged, right?
Yes, I did.
Congratulations.
Dude, that is awesome. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot has happened in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah,
since
we've all been together.
Yeah, and not even just off the field. Actually, on the field, there's quite a bit that has happened. Less on the defensive side for injuries, but definitely on the offensive side of the football. Last week was a rough week for the injury report. So.
And today, did you see today how many different illness questionables popped up now from DeAndre Hopkins down the line? T. Higgins, it's and it's big names too. Not that I care about a wide receiver 3 on my team missing time, but realistically it is. I had Traylon Burks as my 3, and that sucks to replace, but not as bad as replacing T. Higgins or
yes.
And with the 6 teams on a bye week this week.
Exactly.
Killing us. Like, I looked at my lineup earlier. I'm like, I don't even want to look at the rest. Like, this sucks.
Yeah, I in one league, I have to win my matchup 1, and one of my friends has to lose in order for me to get into the 6th seed to make the playoffs. I'm looking at my roster. I'm like, okay, it's done. My season's done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my year has gone. I'm 5-8, and I have, I think, the 5th most points for. So, like, not a crazy amount of points for, but I have the most points against by 220.
There you go.
I put up 175 points last week and lost.
I hate that.
Yeah, Dagger. Hayden Hurst gets injured. Kenneth Walker gets injured. Imagine walking into a game and say, oh, you have Christian Watson, Justin Fields, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Christian McCaffrey, and I lost.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerron Payne, who had a fantastic day on Sunday. I needed a waiver guy. Because Brian Burns was hurt or something, or he was on a bye, I forget. I hate this season. This season can shove it.
Anytime it's ready to be over, I'm fine with it.
Oh, so bad.
Is this going to be the norm, you think? I mean, just with the length of the schedule now increasing and just people wanting to be more careful about the players, and the more lucrative contracts our teams are going to be like, oh, let's not risk our financial investment we have here. I mean, there are a number of factors that go into play for these players. I wonder if this is going to be something that we as fans and fantasy football fans are going to have to adjust to going forward.
It's a good point. Like the double bye week for some guys, like if you need to give them rest, but I mean, I don't think it should be that big of an issue. But then again, I don't get paid to do this. So
yeah, I remember saying the beginning of last year and then going into this year, I thought, are the days of running backs, especially probably more than anybody, of them seeing 500 snaps gone, or 400 snaps. You know what I mean? Gone. I mean, because like the leader right now is 300, and the difference between 1 and 15 in total, like rush snaps, is nearly 100 snaps difference. Number 1 being Saquon, and number 15 being Tony Pollard, or 13 being Aaron Jones. 100 snap difference. That's just crazy. And it's probably smart that you should. Here's what's the difference. Saquon doesn't have anybody to relieve him. There's Aaron Jones at least kind of has A.J. Dillon.
That's crazy. Yeah. All right.
It's an interesting year, I have to say. It's just not how anybody predicted, that's for sure. And if you did, you should be paid a lot of money.
Should be playing the lottery is what you should be doing.
Yeah.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have news and notes, injuries to go over, some defensive players real quick. I do know I saw Aaron Donald is out for tonight. That's a big one for IDP players. That's a big player on people's teams to replace on a Thursday.
Yeah, for those defensive tackle eligible spots, if you were fortunate to have Aaron Donald, I mean, it's very rare you get a defensive tackle to be so dominant for a defensive lineman position in IDP, and so Aaron Donald is definitely one of those players. Right. Yeah, it's a big loss, whether you're in a DT league or just a defensive lineman spot in general, and especially against this matchup here. This would have been a perfect matchup for him. Right. So yeah.
And what happened to him? Because I just saw it. Was it yesterday or this morning?
Yesterday.
Yeah. What's wrong?
Ankle.
He plays for the Rams.
Yes, twofold.
Hurt ego.
Yeah, ego and ankle combo means.
It's huge for Josh Jacobs. Again, I know it's this defensive side, but this is huge for Josh Jacobs.
Well, and I just looked at Josh Jacobs on FanDuel before we got on. And it says he's questionable all of a sudden. And so I didn't do my lineup yet. I'm like, I got to wait on that and see what the hell's going on.
Well, the official injury report should actually be out, and they should have their inactives at this point, since we're about an hour to kick off. You need it 90 minutes before. He's playing. Yeah. He's had the Q tag since that ankle the week before the Seahawks game, and he had the best game he'll ever have in his career, collegiately, high school, and professional. So he's okay. Yeah. Not worried about him at all.
No.
Nope.
I'm worried. Oh, there's one worry. It's that he might not play the whole game, I guess, if they get up big enough and Zamir White comes in. But that's neither here nor there. Sorry, Roxanne.
Yeah.
Please continue.
That's a very good point, actually. And they probably will get up that much because, again,
LA sucks.
The Rams. Yep.
Can I tell you, I am the happiest person of the four of us to watch the Rams suffer, being a St. Louis native. Not that I am like, the Rams, they stole from my heart. But I hate Stan Kroenke with every ounce of my being. So to see the amount of Vegas fans that are there, to watch the team and I want them to lose because every game they lose, it's just such bittersweet irony that Detroit's going to get a top 3 or 4 pick, and they have to watch that. I don't know. I shouldn't be as joyous over other people's misery, but you know what? Tough shit I am.
Hell yeah.
Rams. Sorry, Josh.
I was about to say it's the season for vengeance, but I guess giving vengeance, receiving, giving vengeance.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. David Long and Jeffrey Simmons are both questionable. That's today.
Simmons.
That's
all you're worrying about. That's all you'll have in your lineup. Maybe David Long deeper, but
yeah, there's I forget who came in and relieved David Long. David Long was poised to have a pretty good game last week, but then he got out to an injury. I think it was an ankle injury.
Right.
If memory serves me correctly. I forget who came in and stepped in, but he actually had, I think, productive game. Do you know who I'm talking about, Nate?
Yeah, you are talking about, what is his last name?
Insert
hell.
Danico Watch.
Cody something.
I have no idea. But playing against a team like Philly.
Monty Rice.
There it is. Thank you.
Playing against a team like Philly, run heavy, especially when they're up a lot. Mm-hmm. You should rake in the tackles. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Patrick Queen, deep thigh bruise limited at practice.
There was the concern was that he was going to be out because when they carted him off. I mean, and the fans were chanting for Patrick Queen. Joe, let's go back 12 weeks. If I said, hey, let's fast forward to week 14, and the fans will be chanting for Patrick Queen as he gets carted off the field, typically you would think that would be in happiness. Like, hell yeah, he's gone. He's off the field. Thank God. See ya, Patrick. But it's actually in remorse because he's been playing so good. So glad he got limited practices in. Looks like he should be good to go. That's about it.
Zion Brown is also out tonight.
Yeah, so Denzel Perryman is your no competition for tackles there. I think Bruce Masterson.
Luke
Masterson the Masterson is stepping in tonight.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Jalen Brown was employed, so
Exactly. That's fair.
there you go.
Nice.
Doesn't matter.
No.
Chad Muma has an ankle injury. What's going on? Does it matter? Joe, tell us.
Oh,
This hurts.
It hurts?
I think it does. I think he has been playing really well lately. You know, one of our buddies on our RDP podcast, Shoot the Gap, Mike Wohlert, had Muma coming out of college as his number 1 ranked linebacker, and things were going to go in that direction until the Jaguars drafted him. And it's like, why are you drafting him? You already drafted the linebacker. You already signed Olakun in free agency. Now you're taking one of the best linebackers in all of collegiate football and basically putting him on your bench like he's some IDP player. You know, flash forward a few weeks here into the season, and Muma came in relief here. Devin Lloyd was just being phased out a little bit here. Muma played, I believe, 2 weeks ago, 100% of the snaps. And to have this ankle injury, you know, he's a tackling machine, and so to have him miss all of practice this week, this is unfortunate. If you were fortunate enough, however, to get him in your dynasty drafts last year, you got a good one. The fact that he went from 0 to 100%, close to 0 to 100% snaps played a couple weeks ago, just tells you that they're showing faith in Muma in Jacksonville, and he could be somebody who's going to be there with Olakun for a while, if not replace Olakun in a couple of years when that contract gets a little bit too pricey.
Yeah. What's crazy is over the last 2 weeks, if you look at the linebacker position, and in the top 12 is LB1s, and I named the names Jack Sanborn, Chad Muma, Cody Barton, Tony Fields, and Alex Anzalone. Those are 4 names that are in the as LB1s over the last couple weeks, which is IDP stupid. The hell are we doing? Why do we do this? Why do we do this to ourselves when we have to know those names?
Okay, Sion Taki.
Sione. It's just a great name. Just a great name.
Yeah, he's for the year, which sucks because he's always been, for the diehard Cleveland Browns fans, he's been a household name, and they're just waiting for his opportunity to shine. And then what do you know? He did a couple weeks ago, and then gets his ACL injury this week. Unfortunate, but looks like, and he was playing the middle linebacker position. It looks like now that Deion Jones is going to be going back to middle.
I don't think so.
Well, that's what the news report said today. I don't know if that's going to be the long-lasting.
Right. Yeah, you might be right with that. But
how long that lasts is a story in and of itself. Because Deion Jones, everybody was excited. I shouldn't say everybody, but people were excited that here you had this productive linebacker in Atlanta for all those years. Although his trajectory was heading downward, gets traded to the Browns earlier in the season. He immediately was tasked with wearing the green dot, meaning being the linebacker who's calling the plays on the field, being there 100% of the snaps. It just didn't work out. Taki comes in, boom, production, ACL, now back to Deion Jones. So we'll see how long the Deion Jones experiment happens, but it's not looking good for Cleveland, I guess is the point.
So do you think that when he went out, when they brought in Tony Fields, that's not going to be what they're going to continue to do? I mean, is that what the report was saying? Because that's who they relied on.
Oh, yeah, right. So I've been seeing reports here and there today that they actually may go away from Fields and just release him again, depending on how this weekend turns out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But
we're talking about Tony Fields. We can probably move on. We can probably go.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much.
Joe looks so nauseated that we were talking about Tony Fields for long.
Who is Tony Fields?
Irrelevant.
The LB11 over the last 2 weeks.
He is the Brooklyn Brawler jobber of
How?
The NFL.
Splash.
Stupid.
Yes.
Agreed. Leonard Williams with a neck injury.
More tackles for Dexter Lawrence. No, that is a lot. That is a loss for the Giants, though. That is a loss for the Giants.
And he's out this week. How long IR? What's going on?
He's probably out for this week. My guess is they'll probably put him on short term. At this point, the Giants aren't looking like they're going to be a great playoff contender. They started off super hot, and now they are as ice cold as it can possibly get for a team in the NFL. They were about to get hot, and then they kissed their sister by tying with the Washington Commanders. So
Hey, you know what?
Their playoff hopes are done. They
People
might
complain,
make it, but
people complain all the time. Oh, we tied. You know what? I'll take that over a loss.
yeah, I mean, if you push with the dealer in blackjack, it's a win. But
It's not exciting.
Should there be ties in the NFL? Roxanne, start with you.
No, I
Joe?
don't think so.
yes, because you deserve it if you can't fucking win a game after 70 minutes of football.
That's a good point.
Interesting way to put that too. Glass half
Yes.
empty approach. Not that you can't lose the game. It's you can't fucking win the game.
You can't win the game, so you 100% deserve to tie. Yep.
Okay, I'll take
Like in soccer, after 120 minutes of play, if you can't figure out how to put a ball in a net, you deserve to tie.
Okay. Glass half full or
Yeah.
empty? Glass half full, Jorge, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I watched a lot of The Highlander when I was a kid, and there can be only one, so I'm not a fan of ties.
I hate ties, but I understand the NFL's logic, especially as we get 18 games into the season, letting them play until they get like playoff wise. There is no tie in that, which obviously we know. So, okay, that's it.
All right. Well, let's move on to who's you guys think are going to do good this week. Jorge is first with DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah, so last week he was my lowered expectations player just because the offensive lineman Braden James had not given up a pressure. I want to say in the past month he'd been playing very well, and the Colts offensive line since week 10 has been playing very well. And so imagine my surprise. I turn on Sunday Night Football and they tell me, oh, Braden James is out this game for an injury and somebody else, insert name, is taking his place. And this is right as like the first snap was about to happen. And I'm like, well, there goes. So it turns out it worked out well. Whoever replaced Braden James played really well. DeMarcus Lawrence did not. This week against the Houston Texans, this is going to be a massacre. Titus Howard is allowing, this is the right tackle of the Houston Texans, is allowing the second most pressures among all the Texans offensive linemen the past month. DeMarcus Lawrence, 16% win rate against offensive linemen is pretty elite there. This is no real deep analysis needed. He's going to seek revenge for last week, and Dallas is going to destroy the Texans. This is going to be a bloodbath. So look for DeMarcus Lawrence to redeem himself from last week and to have a productive game this week.
You know who the right tackle was that came in also and in relief?
Little something? Was it? I forget who it wasn't. Well, it wasn't.
Who put the majority, some of the snaps, at least 24, was Matt Pryor, our favorite punching bag. So yes, had you known it was Matt Pryor coming in, you definitely would have went, shit. But him and Dennis Kelly both split.
Kelly, there we go.
Yeah, Dennis Kelly and Matt Pryor got 25 snaps there. Tackle.
Man, that would have crucified me. Yeah.
Last week you had Marcus Davenport, and he finished with a whopping
2.3 points. Yeah, that was not awesome. He, one of the things I said last week is that he has been dealing with injuries all of his career. Has been dealing with injuries this year. Last week in limited fashion, last month in limited fashion, he had been productive, having a 23.7% win rate against true passing situations. So I thought, having immobile Tom Brady and against an offensive line that's been kind of reeling, as of late, was going to be Marcus's kind of window into having productivity. And that was it. When I'm looking at the rest of the season, I'm looking at Marcus Davenport, I see no opportunistic opportunities for him to be successful. For IDP managers, if you have him in your redraft league, which I don't know why you would, you can cut bait with him. But that last week was it. So that was very disappointing with Marcus Davenport.
Remember when the Saints traded up 14 spots to get Marcus Davenport at 14 in the draft? God, what a first round pick. Jeez. Yeah. Imagine picking that guy. Go ahead, next guy.
All right, you have Alex Anzalone versus the Vikings.
Yeah, so
pretty good against the Vikings, actually.
Yeah, no, seriously. Nate, you mentioned him earlier as being a LB1 the past few weeks. Look, what he does is not pretty. I'm not going to say here he's saying he's one of these elite linebackers. His run stopping percentage is very low. I think on what was it, Thanksgiving, the ball carrier was coming right at him at the goal line, and he literally jumped in the air trying to clothesline him, and completely whiffed on the ball carrier. The ball carrier just sidestepped him and just walked into the end zone. It's comical, some of the goofs that this guy makes. But what is not comical is what he did against the Minnesota Vikings earlier in this season: 11 solo tackles, a TFL, a sack, a passes defense. He is a very balanced, in a negative way, I guess I'm saying, tackler, in that he gets a lot of solo and assisted tackles combined versus having more of a high solo tackle, a higher fantasy point floor to the assisted tackles. So he's really counting on volume, which is great because the Vikings, I hear, like to run the ball a lot. So I think he's going to, this is where he's really stepping up, Roxanne, is his splash plays are starting to go up. He's making plays on the ball, getting those forced fumbles, getting those fumble returns. And against a familiar opponent this week in the Vikings and a team that he's had success against for IDP managers, I think he carries a streak into this week.
Makes sense. I like your pick. Joe, Nate, any comments on that?
I had Anzalone as a bench guy all year long. I said people should draft him. He's currently top 20 in the league in tackles, so I love Anzalone.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And your linebacker last week was Quay Walker with 7.5 points.
Yeah, so that was really disappointing. Up until I want to say Sunday, the assumption was that it was going to be Quay Walker and no Devondre Campbell. Late or early, I guess, depending on how you're looking at it, Sunday morning, they announced Devondre Campbell was active, which hurts Quay Walker when they're both on the field. When Campbell was not on the field, you saw a great solo to assist ratio in Quay Walker's tackling, which meant a higher fantasy floor. But on the season, when Devondre Campbell's been on the field, Quay Walker has been very blah. He's been very even. Solo to assist has been very comparable to one another. Just not a high floor was what you got basically from him with the 7.5 points. So if not for that late active designation of Devondre Campbell, I think Quay Walker would have had a pretty good game last week.
It's good to see that they both played 100% for the first time all season when they both saw snaps. So maybe going forward, if you have Quay, there's a chance that he's still in play even if Devondre Campbell plays, just by pure snap percentage. So that's a positive spin for Quay, at least going forward.
Week 14, Jonathan Owens versus the Cowboys.
Right. So Dallas is allowing the third most fantasy points to opposing safeties on the season, which I hear is good for fantasy. When it comes to the safety position here for the Texans, he is their primary in-box defender. Dallas, what are they really good at? They're good at running the ball. He's going to get plenty of opportunities. This is, again, I don't know if you heard me say bloodbath earlier in the show, but this game is going to be a bloodbath. Mm-hmm. And the Cowboys should get up early on the Texans and just run this ball and just kill this clock. And, hey, that's great for a defender whose job is to stop the run. So I think Jonathan Owens gets back to form. When you look at his performance over the course of this season against run-heavy teams, he's averaging close to 13 tackles a game and 14 points per game in FantasyPros scoring. So when he has that opportunity to go against these run-heavy offenses, he makes the most of them. I'm definitely high on him this week.
And your defensive back last week was Kyle Duggar, and this was your best finish out of everybody with 10.5 points.
Yeah, you have a running team in the Buffalo Bills. Duggar, had been playing better as the weeks have gone on. He had dealt with some injuries and he dealt with some splitting time with Adrian Phillips at strong safety, but that has, going into last week, that had, ceased. I still am a huge fan of Kyle Duggar. I think he's definitely startable. And again, we're talking 10.5 points when you're looking at, where that aligns with fantasy point performance, there are like 11 players who got you between 10 and 10.9 points, right? So, I mean, whatever. As long as I'm getting that, in that zone, double-digit point production, I'm feeling pretty happy with Kyle Duggar.
We'll move on to Joe's picks, and he didn't have any for last week, so we're just moving on to this week's. And you have Dexter Lawrence against the Eagles.
Yeah, I'll make mine quick. Monty Rice, whoever the heck we just talked about, apparently had a good week. If he can against the Eagles, so can Dexter Lawrence.
That's fair.
The arguable best defensive tackle in the NFL.
And you're done there?
Oh, yeah. These are all quick and easy, let me tell you.
Linebacker Josh Uche at Arizona.
Yeah, so I will be there for this game Monday night, and I got to watch Uche play against Minnesota in person, and obviously watched him in prime time last week against the Bills. He has looked progressively better the last 3 weeks at getting to the quarterback. He's a speed guy, but he's also found a way to use his power. He's been getting around the edge very, very quickly. Arizona does not have very good offensive tackles. I think we had mentioned that much earlier on in the season when we were talking about guys going up against them like Uchenna Nwosu. They don't have great tackles. I think him and Judon eat, and I think Uche ultimately reaps the benefits. Probably has 1.5 sacks is what I see out of him. And then he'll be able to stuff the run as well, depending on if he's in there on rundowns. Normally Anthony Jennings, but they're starting to mix him in more.
Didn't you have JOK on here earlier?
No, JOK is down further.
Okay.
That is.
I'm like, I swear this got changed. All right, so we're moving on. Mika Fitzpatrick, of course. That's a good play this week.
Backup quarterback Tyler Huntley is prone to turnovers. Minka's the only playmaker in that secondary for Pittsburgh. Had an interception last week, I believe, to seal the deal against Atlanta. So hoping that Minka does that. Maybe he'll get up close to the line of scrimmage. If Huntley makes it into the secondary, Minka's the guy that's going to tackle him. So I think he has a great day in terms of tackles, and then also finds his way to a turnover.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Short and simple.
You're getting through them today. We move on to Nate's picks. You have Chandler Jones tonight.
Yeah, I hate riding the wave or the crest of recent success, especially for somebody that I just despise like Chandler Jones. But you know what? Opportunity is opportunity. Look at the last 2 weeks. What have we seen? 2 weeks ago, he had 8 pressures and it led to no sacks, which is, pretty much, I don't want to say unheard of, because other people have done that. But realistically, if you get 7+ pressures, the opportunity is there that you should have at least a DL2 game. He didn't have that. But last week he did. A little probably out of sorts. There's the typical Chandler Jones week. You get one per year, and then it's gone. Luckily, he gets the Rams. 19 pressures over the last 2 weeks for Chandler Jones. The Rams have allowed the second most sacks on the season. And the one thing I found ironic, eerie, crazy, scary, sad, the Rams have played 12 games. They have had 12 different offensive line combinations across those. Tonight could make 13. If you're looking for a reason for chaos, that's it. They can't get anything cohesive going. And I think Max Crosby on the other end just completely, this game just gets ugly. And they're going to, and you said earlier, Joe, when, Wolford gets hurt, I think it's probably a fair statement. And it's going to be Baker and or Perkins or whoever it is going to come in and is going to get a heavy dose of both. Yeah.
It's going to be ugly.
Yeah. Probably as ugly as my Frank Clark pick last week, right, Roxanne?
Did you said it? DL 95. But he was sick.
Yep.
So,
They said after the game that it was him convincing the coaching staff to even play. Like they pretty much were like 100% opposed to him even playing, and they placed 55 snaps.
Right.
And I was like, holy hell! So 55 snaps, sick, and still sucks. But he did lead the team in pressures, if that's any consolation, which is not a good stat. Whenever it's 2. So there's a, silver lining and everything, guys. Silver lining and everything.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I know it doesn't get any better from here. Jalen Smith at linebacker, right, Roxanne?
Yep.
Oh, I swear that trust the process is what everybody wants to say when they get something wrong, and it makes sense. Because I mean, everything made sense for Jalen Smith to be a tackle heavy linebacker, and he was okay in terms of tackles, just too many assisted. It was ugly. LB71 this week. You know, it could be the same type thing, the same situation, same setup in going away from. We talked about Chad Muma, who hasn't practiced all week with that ankle injury. That sets up Devin Lloyd. If you look at a Tennessee matchup, run heavy, no Traylon Burks. My guess is it's going to be Derrick Henry. He's been pretty shitty as of late. Jacksonville, who allows the 10th most rushing yards, seems like a good game for Derrick Henry to get leaned on and actually be productive enough to move the chains and allow both Lloyd and Lewican to see double-digit tackle volume. I think that's what we'll see with Lloyd. Right now, he's with the amount of snaps he's been playing and Muma's success. My guess is Lloyd might have been dropped in some non-dynasty leagues, might be available. LB3, LB4 type play. I'm not looking for LB1 or 2 particularly, this week.
Good filler for a bye week, though.
Absolutely, right?
And then we move to Cameron Bynum.
Cameron Bynum, yeah. Sneaky successful from a safety that's being targeted a lot. He's played every snap of the season. That's check mark number 1.
Mm-hmm.
He's been around the ball a lot for the season, which is check mark number 2. If you look at the last 6 weeks, he's the DB 27. Last 4 games, DB 14, and a lot of that's as a result of him being targeted as of late a little bit more heavily than he was early in the season. He wasn't really targeted. Now, I guess offenses realize he's not, that great in coverage, and so they do. And I think this game, has an over of 51, 52. So it should be explosive.
Yeah.
I think there'll be plenty of opportunities. His last 3 games, 18 tackles, 3 passes deflected, and an interception. And Harrison Smith and him really are gelling with each other really well. And I think that's going to really lead to another good game out of Bynum.
Minnesota does not rotate their secondary. Does not. He has played 100% of the snaps all season. Patrick Peterson, 99% of the snaps. He played 83% in week 11. Harrison Smith, he's older, so they rotate him in and out a little bit, but he has never played less than 88% this season.
Wow.
They don't rotate their secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying that him and Harrison talk a lot during the game, and that Harrison Smith gets him into positions better. And it's fun watching those two. I say grow. Harrison Smith is older, of course, but they're teaching each other.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, if dude's in the field 100% of snaps, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Lowered expectations for this week.
Here's your JOK,
okay.
Miss Roxanne, Mr. Owosu Karamoa.
This is Jorge's pick. Had a few good weeks, but despite the season injury to Taki, Deion Jones will look to be thrusted in, right? I mean, that's what your theory is.
You're muted.
Jorge.
Boo.
Boo.
Rookie mistake.
Tomato.
Yeah, exactly.
Rookie mistake. Thank you. I was like, what? Yeah. Just what you just said, and whether it's Tony or if it's Deion Jones, this middle linebacker position is going to eat a lot this week. You look at the success rate that this Bengals offensive line has had the past couple weeks, especially the left interior. That just happens to be where you see the success of Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon have in the running game, which has been resurgent as of late for Cincinnati. I do not see this being a coverage linebacker type of game here. So yeah, I'm lowering my expectations. I'm bringing it back down to normal for JOK this week.
Okay, and you were obviously on the other side of this with DeMarcus Lawrence last week at DL 112, and that was a pretty good lowered expectation.
Pretty low. Yep.
Pretty.
Joe, you had nobody last week, but this week you're going with Derwin James? Why?
Guy.
Okay. Oh,
My guy. I love Derwin James, who is also the leader in the secondary for most tackles in the NFL by 9 over Julian Love and Jonathan Owens, who are tied at 97. Derwin James is 106, which is just outside of the top 10 in terms of total tackles in the NFL. I love Derwin James. I think he's statistically, and I think he is the best safety in the NFL, arguably the best secondary player in the NFL. I think his opportunities are just going to be limited against Miami. He didn't have a great week last week. So I think his opportunities are just going to be limited. I don't think Miami's going to want to throw in his direction. They don't really have a tight end where they can target. Like, they don't heavily target Gesicki. They don't heavily target Durham Smythe, which is where Derwin James would spend most of his time, around those big guys that are going to be catching the football. Although when he plays Kansas City, he has a pretty damn good game because he shadows Travis Kelce a lot. So in Miami, I don't see them as a heavy run team. I think they're going to want to bounce back and, smoke the Chargers this week. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope Miami continues to struggle, but I think McDaniel's smart enough to target literally every other person in that secondary that cannot play football and not go at the one guy that can. So,
And Nate, this week, Lanoa Hufanga.
Yeah.
Why?
So
What do you got
I
going
mean,
on here? Oh,
I love Hufanga.
I was thinking of putting him on my list too. So we're on the same wavelength here. Yeah.
We'll see if it's. I'm interested to hear your reasoning too, because maybe there's multiple reasons, and if that's the case, then I probably even lowered expectations.
Yeah.
LE squared is that through weeks 1 through 7, Hufanga had played 156 snaps in the box or at the line of scrimmage, or really at the line of scrimmage, box or on the line. Since then, he's played 70. His scheme change has had him much more in free safety role. When you have linebackers that he has, as far as capable of making tackles, it's less play that's going to leak to the secondary. I gotta tell you, I really don't have an answer why. I know people listening, if they're like, "Oh, that's great to know," is it a scheme change? Is it because Eric Armstead and depth across the offensive line has improved? They feel better leaving him deep. I loved him up front. I don't understand what they saw different, but they're the coaches and I'm not. I talk with you guys about Tony Fields, for crying out loud. What the hell do I know? But he has not. I mean, and as a result, what have we seen? We've seen his overall production in the last 3 weeks. He's been a DB 46. So, I mean, if he was playing a team that was heavy point scores to the opposing safeties, which Tampa Bay's not, if he was playing against a quarterback that throws a ton of touchdown or interceptions and is turnover prone, which he's not, then I would be a little bit more, I guess, okay with Hufanga. But in this situation, I'm not.
Joe.
It's funny. He's a guy that's had 96% of the snaps this year, which is second to Sean Gibson in that secondary at 98%. They do not change their secondary. Charvarius Ward, Hufanga, Tashawn Gibson, Diamonador Lenore, who has gotten more snap time since Emmanuel Mosley went down. Those guys, 100% of the snaps last week. Those are your 2 corners and 2 safeties. I'm looking at 7 San Francisco defensive backs with 0% of the snap percentage.
It's crazy.
So to me, you're playing, and Charvarius Ward plays in the slot. So Jimmy Ward is going to play a little bit on the outside. So you're not interchanging. So you're either playing 4 corners, and Charvarius Ward will slide outside in that situation, or they're going to play a 5th corner, and Jimmy Ward's going to come in and play the slot or play outside, wherever he wants to play.
Yeah.
So what that's telling me is they have 7 big guys in the box. There's no need for Hufanga to be in there. There's no need, because 30% of the time, according to at least last week in terms of snap percentage, the week before it was over 50% of the time, they were in 4 DBs. You are not going to bring your safety into the box in a 4 DB situation. You are going to keep him further back, or at least 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. The running back has to get through 2 layers of the defense for him to even get to Hufanga. because Hufanga is not at the second layer,
Yeah.
where he was formerly to start the season, where San Francisco was mixing in their secondary a little more. But you have guys like Samuel Womack who haven't played. Again, Emmanuel Mosley's out, so Lenore, when he was subbing in, that didn't matter. Now Lenore's just the main guy on the outside. They don't sub their secondary, so it's going to be 4 guys all the time. Hufanga's just chilling out in the back, and he's sadly the odd man out. So
Damn, bringing it, love it.
There's 2 different perspectives, that equal the same result.
yeah, and I mean, to even talk about how they literally don't change their secondary. Jimmy Ward had 0% of the snaps, and then until Emmanuel Mosley and a couple other guys got hurt, like Womack, he then got 88 and 97% of the snaps. And as those guys are Womack slowly getting healthier, other guys, Ward's snaps dropped, and Womack didn't play last week. Guess what happened to Ward's snap percentage? It went up from 49 to 70%. They don't interchange their secondary. It is the same 4 guys on every play. There's no reason to bring a safety into the box, which is unfortunate because that's where Hufanga should play.
Should. Absolutely. Definitely should play there. But unless they change it up, and I don't see any reason why they would right now, because the if it ain't broke, don't fix it moniker sticks to this team more so than probably anybody in the NFL.
Number 1 defense in the NFL. Don't change it.
I mean, I hate to say they might be the number 1 team in the NFL.
No,
I'm losing Jimmy G. Sucks. That's
Hold
probably.
Hold on. If Brock Purdy comes in and does your job, you're not that good. Okay.
No, but that's regardless. Let's see more than 2 quarters worth. But still, I understand. Jimmy G's not exactly. This is not a heralding Jimmy G coronation. This was
This is the same Jimmy Garoppolo that committed the Dan Orlovsky safety and on the same play threw a pick 6.
Okay, fair.
There is no quarterback in NFL history that is more embarrassing than Jimmy Garoppolo. For the amount he's hyped up and paid, there's no one more embarrassed.
I'd like to insert
Russell Wilson is getting close. Russell Wilson has yet to step out of the back of the end zone with ball in hand. So if he hits that, then maybe. But I don't like Jimmy. I'm not gonna. Brock Purdy's Mr. Irrelevant. I hope he plays well because he's Mr. Irrelevant, and that would just be funny.
Right.
But imagine you draft a guy literally with the last pick in the draft. You pay Jimmy Garoppolo all this money and draft Trey Lance 3rd overall, and you go to the Super Bowl with Brock freaking Purdy. Yeah, congratulations.
You know what? If the Ravens can win a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer, anything is possible.
Agreed.
Trent Dilfer didn't win the Super Bowl. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, and the entire defense won the Super Bowl. Let's make that clear.
That was fire, Ed Reed. That was before Ed Reed's time.
Oh my God!
I don't think anybody's going to say that the 49ers didn't win the Super Bowl. I think the same analogy we made 10 years, 20 years down the road, it won't be, if you can win with Brock Purdy, they'll say, whoa. No, they won with Nick Bosa. Granted, CMC is on that team, which is helpful, of course. And,
right.
Debo,
well, it's like the Bears made the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman as their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The Rams made the Super Bowl with Jared Goff as their quarterback. So, and again, it's all the deal. I mean, no, I don't think
it's possible.
I don't think anybody looked at the San Francisco 49ers in 2020 and said, oh yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo carried them to the Super Bowl. No, it was their run game carried them to the Super Bowl, and their defense played a big part. So,
and then they lost.
Jimmy Garoppolo's 13 pass attempts in the NFC Championship didn't carry them to the. I thought it did.
No, I thought it was 8 pass attempts. So I think you might be helping him out there.
Probably.
That's not a joke. I'm pretty sure it was 8 pass attempts.
I know it was super low. That's why I was bringing it up.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Real quick before we head off, we have one question. Half of it's offense, the other half is defense. Latavius Murray or Brandon Ayuk in the flex position. Ayuk and the 49ers play Tampa this week. Latavius Murray plays the Chiefs, who I know it sounds daunting, but it doesn't matter. The Broncos could be down 1,000,000-0, and they're still running inside zones on 2nd and 13. So, Nate, I'll start with you.
pass for 1 second because I will be honest. I was looking up the passing attempts for Jimmy Garoppolo, and I didn't pay any attention at all.
That's fine.
He did it was 8. He had 9 dropbacks, 8 attempts, 6 completions.
Nice.
So
sorry,
yeah.
Jimmy. I tried.
He tried.
Yeah, sorry for making you seem better than you are.
Stick with 75% completion percentage, Jorge. Just stay there.
Jorge, who you got?
In this question, I'm going to roll with Ayuk. I'm going to give Purdy the benefit of the doubt here. And as far as the second part of the question, give me Seattle's DST. New England, even though they're going against Arizona, I still think they have enough firepower to put up a fight. I think Carolina is done for, so give me Seattle.
Nate, back to you.
I will go with in agreement with Ayuk. Do we know any more about Debo? Because last I saw someone say that there's a chance that they might sit him out for this week and next potentially.
The same.
And I don't know if that had traction or what.
Against a struggling Tampa team, I don't doubt that they would sit him. I don't see the reason. I think they can win this game without Debo Samuel. I think they probably sit him, and at that point, you're looking at Ayuk as probably one of the dump-off guys, along with McCaffrey. He should eat with Purdy. They're probably not going to open the playbook too much, and they're probably going to do a lot of what you saw from Zappy in his first game, dink and dunk across the middle. Don't do anything kind of fancy. Again, we're talking about a team that threw the football 8 times in the NFC Championship. They're not afraid to run the football. It's the same head coach.
And as far as the defense,
afraid to run it. Now they have the best running back in the league.
Yes,
exactly.
Defensive side.
I'm not going to pick any Broncos anywhere. So Latavius Murray is a definite no. Ayuk 100%. Defenses, I don't know.
So go ahead.
To me,
Joe, what were you going to say?
A clean sweep on Seattle, and I'll speak on this as I watch every Patriots game. They're not going to do anything crazy for you from a statistical points standpoint. They're a solid NFL defense, not a great fantasy defense, especially against more high-powered offenses that especially they don't do a very good job of containing the quarterback. We've seen that. Justin Fields was more designed runs, but they haven't done a great job at containing the quarterback in scenarios. They would even let Fields get out wide. They don't like running quarterback spies. And if they're going to run zone against DeAndre Hopkins, they're going to die, is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It
that's
makes
the if, Joe.
I said last week in the show, I'm like, my fade is Stephon Diggs and my play is Stephon Diggs. If Stephon Diggs sees Jack Jones, he's a fade. If he sees Jonathan Jones, he's a play. Guess who he scored his first touchdown against? Jonathan Jones. 100% of the snaps, my ass. That dude should be cut. I'm going Ayuk in Seattle. Carolina will not have a good game. Not even should. Will not have a good game.
Yeah, there's no chance. And you can't even if you were leaning New England, simply because for one area, which is the fact that D-Hop missed practice and this new illness, they have until Monday night. So you wouldn't even be able to gamble and say, all right, if they don't have Hopkins, they don't have Dortch, and then their best number one, I'm
Rondale.
joking about Dortch, but they don't have Rondale, and their number 2 and the best starting and the receiving core is Hollywood and Dortch and AJ Green. But I'm right there with you. Go with Seattle. Say Carolina probably won't put up more than 10. And yeah.
Quick, if Rondale Moore does get activated, I love him this week against New England. They can't cover the slot. Perfect. So Miles Bryant, will probably see him when they're running nickel packages. Miles Bryant can't cover. Rondale Moore should absolutely toast him. So if D-Hop doesn't play and Rondale Moore does, look for him to be heavily involved.
Make him your captain Monday night.
Honestly, I would. He's probably cheap.
Probably.
Yep.
Through DFS, IDP, offense, and
there's some dynasty talk. There's a couple dynasty references.
Yeah, there was.
Covered the gamut of this show. It's fantastic.
We didn't talk any best ball.
That's okay. We did well, though.
Yeah, you already drafted your team. Who cares? Can't do anything about it.
All right. This has been the latest episode of Down with IDP. From Club Fantasy and Fantasy and Frames. Make sure you're following Fantasy and Frames on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fantasy and Frames. And be sure to check out their website, fantasyandframes.com, for all your IDP needs. And don't forget they do Dynasty Redraft and DFS too. You can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL code is clubfantasyffl.com. DFS, player props, sports betting, and our start sit columns confidence plays begin hitting the site. as early as tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
For Nate Marcum, at Nate Marcum on Twitter, Joe at Joe_Zollo, at Jorge B. Edwards, and me at F Queen Roxanne. Thank you for joining us. And good luck in all your, searching for playoff spots, or if you're starting them already. Some might be. I don't know. Shouldn't be.
Good luck all around.
Yes.
Tough week.
If you
Tough
have a
week.
league that's starting a playoff with 6 bye weeks, you have problems. Because that
There
would
you go.
suck.
That's true.
Pretty much.
Preach.
Goodbye, everybody.